fans. Big Al here on this Football Sunday. It is November 10th, 2024, and welcome to the Week 10 injury report for all the remaining games on this week's schedule in the National Football League. We're going to start off with the New York Giants and the Carolina Panthers, who are currently playing out in Germany right now. It is 17-14 Panthers with 8:27 remaining in the fourth quarter. So this game will be getting over with shortly. So we'll start with the injuries for the Giants to begin this injury report. Linebacker Matthew Adams is questionable with a calf. Wide receiver Bryce Ford Wheaton is out with an Achilles. Kicker Graham Cano is still out with a right hamstring. Linebacker Darius Masal is questionable with a hamstring. Safety Jason Pennock is questionable with an ab injury. And wide receiver Darius Slayton out today for the Giants with a concussion. And for the Carolina Panthers, running back Jonathan Brooks, questionable with a knee, but he is not playing. Linebacker Jadeveon Clowney, questionable with a knee. Tackle Akeem Ekwonu, out with an ankle. Safety Jordan Fuller is questionable with a hamstring. Safety Lonnie Johnson is questionable with a quad injury. Safety Jamie Robinson is doubtful with a knee. Wide receiver Adam Thielen out once again with a hamstring. Tight end Tommy Tremble questionable with a back injury. And linebacker DJ Wonnum is questionable with a quad injury. Now to the games that will be getting underway in less than an hour, starting off with the Bills and Colts. For Buffalo, you got wide receiver Keon Coleman out with a wrist. Wide receiver Amari Cooper questionable with a wrist, but he will not play in this game. Fullback Reggie Gilliam questionable with a hip. And linebacker Balen Spector is questionable with a calf. And only one player for the Indianapolis Colts, and that's wide receiver Michael Pittman. He is out with a back and a finger. Moving to the Denver Broncos and Kansas City Chiefs. First up for the visiting Broncos, linebacker Drew Sanders is out with an Achilles. Safety Delarum Turner-Yell is out with a knee. And center Luke Wattenberg is questionable with an ankle. For the Chiefs, wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster is out with a hamstring. And defensive tackle Tershawn Wharton is questionable with a knee. So pretty much both teams coming into this game healthy for the most part. Steelers at Commanders, and starting off with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Safety Terrell Edmonds, sorry about that. He is out with an illness. Linebacker Nick Herbig is out with a hamstring. He's been battling that thing for more than a month at least. Linebacker Taylor Matakevich is questionable with a hamstring. And wide receiver Ben Skowronek is questionable with a shoulder. And for the first place Washington Commanders, they have quite a few names on here. Cornerback Marshawn Lattimore, who they just picked up in a trade with the Saints. He's out today with a hamstring. Tackle Cornelius Lucas is also out with an ankle. Long snapper Tyler Ott is questionable with an illness. Running back Brian Robinson will be out once again with a hamstring. Place kicker Austin Seibert is questionable with a right hip, but he will not be playing in this game. They'll have Zane Gonzalez handling the kicking duties for the Commanders. Tackle Andrew Wiley questionable with a shoulder, and tight end Colson Yankoff is out with a hamstring. Vikings Jaguars. We'll start with Minnesota. Only 3 players listed here. Linebacker Blake Cashman, questionable with a toe. Defensive end Gabriel Murphy, questionable with a knee. Likewise for linebacker Ivan Pace Jr., he's also questionable with a knee. Longer list for Jacksonville though. Guard Ezra Cleveland is out with an ankle. Wide receivers Gabe Davis with a shoulder and Devin Duvernay with a hamstring are both questionable, but it looks like Gabe Davis will play. Running back Dearness Johnson is questionable with a hamstring. Quarterback Trevor Lawrence is questionable with a left shoulder, but he will not be playing against the Vikings. It will be Mac Jones instead. Running back Keelan Robinson is questionable with a toe. Defensive tackle Mason Smith is out with an ankle. Meanwhile, safety Daniel Thomas with a hamstring. Wide receiver Byron Thomas with a chest. And safety Andrew Wingard with a knee are all questionable, but it looks like Thomas will play in this game. Patriots at Bears. Will start with the Patriots. Cornerback Alex Austin is questionable with an ankle. Safety Kyle Duggar we will not see him. He's out with an ankle. Defensive tackle Daniel Kelly is questionable with an ab problem. Meanwhile, linebacker Christian Ellis is out with the same ab injury. Guard Mike Jordan is questionable with an ankle. Tackle Vidarian Lowe is questionable with a shoulder. Safety Marte Mapu is questionable with a neck. Defensive end Yannick Ngakoue is out today. He does not have an injury, so this is non-injury related for the just acquired Yannick Ngakoue. Guard Layden Robinson, questionable with an ankle. Defensive tackle Jacqueline Roy is questionable with a neck injury. And for the Chicago Bears, we have tackle Kieran Omega something. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. He's out today with a calf. Center Ryan Bates is questionable with a shoulder. Safety Jaquan Brisker sitting out once again with a concussion. Tackle Braxton Jones is out with a knee injury. Linebacker Noah Sewell and defensive end Darnell Taylor are both questionable with knee injuries. And speaking of which, tackle Darnell Wright is out with a knee injury. Niners and Buccaneers. We'll start with the visiting Niners. Of course, the big news is Christian McCaffrey, who had that bad abdomen that has kept him sidelined for the first half of the year. He will make his season debut for the 49ers. So this is big news for San Francisco. Meanwhile, on the injury report, defensive end Nick Bosa is questionable with a hip. Wide receiver Chris Conley is out with a hamstring. Center John Feliciano is questionable with a knee. Defensive tackle Kevin Givens is out with a groin. Defensive end Yatir Gross-Matos is out with a knee. And we had just talked about running back Christian McCaffrey questionable with an Achilles injury, but he will play in his season debut today. Safety Malik Mustafa is questionable with a calf. Wide receiver Deebo Samuel is questionable with both a rib and an oblique. And cornerback Charvarius Ward is out due to a personal matter. For the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, long snapper Evan Decker is questionable with a hamstring. Wide receiver Mike Evans is still out with a hamstring. Defensive tackle Greg Gaines questionable with a calf. Wide receiver Jalen McMillan questionable with a hamstring. Safety Tyke Smith is questionable with a knee. And safety Jordan Whitehead is questionable with a quad injury. Falcons Saints. Will start with Atlanta. Linebacker J.D. Bertrand is out with a concussion. Center Drew Dalman is questionable with an ankle. And wide receiver Drake London is questionable with a hip, but looks like he'll be playing today against the New Orleans Saints as we transition to their injury report. Safety J.T. Gray is questionable with a back. Fellow safety Will Harris is also questionable with a hamstring. Guard Shane Lemieux is questionable with a knee. Center Eric McCoy doubtful with a groin. Cornerback Kool-Aid McKinstry with a hamstring. Wide receiver Chris Olave with a concussion. And guard Lucas Patrick with an ankle are all out. Wide receiver Cedric Wilson is also out with a shoulder. And in the remaining players, you've got cornerback Rico Payton with a back. Defensive tackle John Ridgeway with an oblique. Linebacker Nephi Sewell with a knee. And running back Jamal Williams with a groin, all listed as questionable. Moving to the late game, starting off with the Tennessee Titans and the LA Rams. Or rather, the LA Chargers. Sorry about that. For Tennessee, you got running back Julius Chestnut, questionable with a foot. Tackle Dylan Ratness is questionable with a toe. And cornerback L'Jarius Sneed is out. L'Jarius Sneed, he's out with a quadricep. And for the Chargers, defenseman Joey Bosa is questionable with a hip injury. Running back Gus Edwards is questionable with an ankle. Cornerback Christian Fulton is doubtful with a hamstring. Defensive end Khalil Mack questionable with a groin. Linebacker Denzel Perryman is questionable with a toe. Tackle Trey Pipkins is questionable with ankle. Same with tight end Stone Smart. He also has an ankle and is listed as questionable. Jets and Cardinals. We'll start with the New York Jets. Cornerback Michael Carter II is questionable with a back. Tight end Tyler Conklin is questionable with an ankle. Guard Jake Hansen out today with a hamstring. Tackle Morgan Moses is questionable with a knee. Linebacker CJ Mosley is out with a neck injury. Linebacker Chaz Surratt is questionable with a heel injury. Defensive tackle Solomon Thomas is questionable with a knee. And guard Elijah Vera Tucker is questionable with an ankle. He took Thursday off from practice for a personal matter. And only 3 names for the Arizona Cardinals to list off. Defensive tackle Darius Robinson is out with a calf. Otherwise, safety Jalen Thompson with an ankle and tackle Jonah Williams with a knee are both questionable. Only one name listed for the Philadelphia Eagles heading into their game with the Dallas Cowboys, and that's linebacker Ben Van Sumeren. He's questionable with a concussion, although he was a full participant in practice. The injury report is much longer for the Dallas Cowboys. Cornerback Deron Bland still out nursing that foot injury. Cornerback Trayvon Diggs questionable with a calf and an illness. Tackle Tyler Guyton with a neck and shoulder is also questionable. Linebacker Eric Kendricks is questionable with a shoulder. Defensive end Michael Parsons is questionable with an ankle, but he will play against the Eagles today. Little help for that pass rush for Dallas. The big one here is quarterback Dak Prescott out with a hamstring, and it's possible that Dak may be out for the rest of 2024. He's going to fly to New York perhaps to get a second opinion on that surgery that is scheduled for Wednesday. Safety Wanye Thomas is out with a concussion, and linebacker Nick Vigil is questionable with a foot. Later tonight, it's the Lions and the Texans. It will start with the Detroit Lions, who has 7 players listed, and 6 of them are out. Tackle Taylor Decker with a shoulder. Defensive tackle Broderick Martin with a knee. Safety Afidu Melifonwu with an ankle. Quarterback Emmanuel Mosley with a pec. Linebacker Jalen Reeves-Maybin with a neck. And linebacker Malcolm Rodriguez with an ankle are all listed as out for tonight's game. with the Texans. Meanwhile, defensive end Zadarius Smith, who was traded from the Browns to the Lions earlier this week, he is questionable for a personal matter. And for the Houston Texans, defensive end Will Anderson Jr. is out with an ankle. That's a big loss for him for tonight. Wide receiver Nico Collins, questionable with a hamstring, but he more than likely will play. He's listed as a game time decision. Wide receiver Tank Dell is questionable with a back. Defensive tackle Foley Fatukasi is questionable with a groin and a shoulder. Linebacker Jake Hansen questionable with an ankle. Defensive end Jerry Hughes is questionable with a hip. Cornerback Jeff Okudah, former Lion, is questionable with a quad. And running back Dameon Pierce is out once again with a groin injury. Now to Monday Night Football between the Miami Dolphins and the Los Angeles Rams. We'll start with the Dolphins. Wide receiver River Craycraft is questionable with a shoulder. Wide receiver Tyreek Hill is listed as questionable with a wrist. Safety Javon Holland is questionable with a hand and a knee injury. Fullback Alec Ingold is questionable with a calf. Tackle Austin Jackson is out with a knee. And safety Patrick McMorris is questionable with a calf injury. And for the LA Rams, safety Cameron Curl is questionable with a knee. Guard Kevin Dotson is questionable with ankle and knee injuries. Defensive tackle Neville Gallimore is out with a shoulder. Tackle Rob Havenstein is out with an ankle. And linebacker Christian Roseboom is questionable with a neck injury. And that's a look at the Week 10 injury report from across the NFL, as we are now a little more than a half hour from kickoff of the 7 early games on this Sunday schedule. And updating you now on the game in Munich between the Giants and Panthers, it is still 17-14 Carolina. They're playing in the fourth quarter. There's 2:37 left. And I think, the Panthers have the ball. The Giants have one timeout. Carolina's trying to win back-to-back games for the first time since late 2020. It's been a while since they've done it, but they appear to be on their way to doing that. So again, it's 17-14 Panthers with 2:33 left. The Giants just used their final timeout. So we'll see how this game ends up. I will be back tomorrow with a look at the college football rankings from both the Associated Press and the AFCA coaches poll. And then we'll have our NFL recap, the Week 10 edition of the week that was, plus a look at the Week 12 college football television schedule. Both of those videos will come on Tuesday. We'll look at the latest college football playoff rankings on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, we'll take a look at the Week 11 NFL picks straight up and against the spread, plus the Thursday Night Football injury report heading into the Commanders-Eagles game. Primarily, we'll be taking a look at that one. So join me all week for great content. Like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Ring the bell and get notified every time I go live. Big Al signing off. Thanks for watching and enjoy the pigskin. Peace out.